Yeah, what's happening? Uh, got some more news on this narcissistic abuse thing. Basically, it's like you remember that show in the 80s. It was called Revenge of the Nerds. Well, this is kind of like a narcissist's revenge. See, in a way, it's like that book I read. It was called Dealing with Angry People in an Angry World. And it was like, do you know anyone who does this? And then do you know someone who does this and this? And they do this too. And then, oh man, and this and that, and it went on and on. Then it was like, don't you know you're being just like these people right now? And that's basically what the narcissist revenge is like, look, when they start to get under your skin, you grow an obsession with them of all the things they've done to you. Though you may be right and true, and you were provoked, they did draw first blood like Rambo. But the fact that they've drew you into the point where you are obsessed with them, you in a way look at them narcissistically, like through this lens where you're like this observer, scientific lab coat guy from this seat of moral high ground, in a way that you become this perfectionist, busybodying in another's affairs. See, I heard someone talking about busybody, and that's they seen it as being like just too busy, which maybe that does mean that to some extent. But no, a busybody means is when you be looking and seeing what everyone else is doing and trying to manage and micromanage them in a way. By being overly invasive into someone else's privacy, basically, is what a busybody is. And see, through the abuse and the chaining and anchoring and triggering and all this constant sensitization to the words and all this, see, the narcissist is always looking for your reaction. And when you refuse to react in the way that they would expect you to, because they planned for you to lose your shit, because they're being unreasonable. It's called the doo-doo test. In other words, they're being fucking way over the top, openly abusive and abrasive, and like kind of spitting venom all around. And because they know that you hate them. And it's like, see, the thing of it is, anyone who treats anyone like that, it's easy to hate them. And they expect you to hate them because they're treating you in a way you should hate them. But that's what they want from you. So when you're less bothered by it than they would have thought, see, that it was their grand scheme was to cause you all this pain. And when it doesn't work and they don't get the reaction and the narcissistic supply that they thought, instead it internalizes and goes into them voices in their head, because in their head they know they are evil and they did everything to provoke it. And secretly, when they're by themselves and they don't have no one to argue with, because see, that's the reason why they argue so much, is because it makes the voices in their head stop for a little while. The accusing voices, the doubts, the fears, the emotions, and it's just like the thoughts, the racing thoughts. See, that's what happens when you focus your mind on something and then your plan falls through. It has a tendency, that energy, it's almost like going to push someone, and then that person doesn't push back and they just move out of the way. You kind of go flying. It's kind of like that. You're expecting, they call that flying monkey. That's when they throw all these weird emotional it's kind of like they're looking for a sore spot. So they throw out all these kind of weird oddball things to open you up to see where you're emotional, where they can kind of go in for a sadistic type of a thrashing and lashing with the tongue. Thrashing. It's pretty crazy, man. And it's like, I see these spirits, dude. They just keep trying to pry in. And it's like, see, I got hit with waves of hindering spirits. And then instantly afterwards, all of a sudden, here comes these those things I was just talking about. What the heck was I just saying? Oh yeah, the narcissistic. It's basically looking for narcissistic supply, man. I got hit by multiple of them all at the same time too. It's just crazy. And I sensed them before these attacks came on too, again. So I'm starting to recognize that there's like a pattern in like, or an energy that's present right before there's a like a argument or some kind of an event. It's freaking crazy. I mean, I'm not playing about this stuff. If you just, it's pretty freaking crazy. It's something, maybe you can hear it in their voice. Their continence is a certain way. In a way, it's almost like an alligator that sits there, and they basically sit really still. And right before they're about to attack, they take a big deep breath and they suck in, and then they go into they go for a charge and then into the death spiral. And in a way, that's how that spirit works. The narcissistic spirit, it definitely operates off that. It's kind of it'll play games. Sometimes it'll play dead like a possum and then come out like a tiger. Or it'll go into a tiger, then it'll bust out into tears, and it'll become like a childlike, like DID type of situation. I mean, see, that's what it is, man. It's the masks, the many masks that people wear, and sometimes they forget that these are just masks, and it may be sometimes that they're really incompartmentalized. So, like, I realize when you're trying to make someone see the error in their ways, I realize that it's like, listen, there's multiple spirits in one person, or like almost like personalities. And so you have to train each individual personality the same lesson, even though, like, if they're in this state of mind, they get it. But if you push them over into the angry territory and they take on a new spirit, you know what I'm saying? That one doesn't recognize it. Even though when they slip back into the other identity or personality or spirit, you know what I'm saying? Some will be able to see it, but then, you know, in other states of mind, they won't recognize what they recognize in another state of mind. Like I said, and then there's that child. I see the child too. I hear about that. That's definitely present in trauma base, where they reduce someone back to a child and they're really easily programmed from that location. And I noticed just in these spirit attacks like Jezebel and Leviathan and Python and the hindering spirits, the spirits in possession almost works in the same way that it does with brainwashing and mind control. And I've heard a lot of people say that they're definitely related, like they're merged in some dark arts. It just depends who's got that information and or whatnot, access to it. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff, man.